It is, for me, a blessing that freedom was expanded to include, in the United States, for example, the right of black people to be treated at least better than they had been for 400 or so years. People were deported under my husband and Barack Obama without killing American citizens and without putting children into detention camps than were in the first Trump term or this first year of Trump's second term. So I think it's important to look at the facts, because very often the ideological impulse to try to protect the status quo or return making America great again in some nostalgic past that existed for white men and capitalist enterprise was not exactly open and welcoming to people who look like me.
First, I think you really don't like him.
You know, that is absolutely true. But I really, not only do I not like him, I don't like him because of what he's doing to the United States and the world. And I think you should take a hard look at it if you think that there is something good that will come out of it.
Right then, so let me get this straight. The Trump administration's approach to Ukraine, a nation literally fighting for its survival, for its right to exist. And we're supposed to just what? Look the other way? Pretend this isn't happening? No, absolutely not. So today we're diving into something rather brilliant. Hillary Clinton at the Munich Security Conference, and apparently she had some words, strong words, the kind of words that make certain people very uncomfortable. And honestly, I'm here for it. Because here's the thing, this isn't just about Ukraine. This is about what the West actually stands for. Freedom, human rights, the basic principle that you don't just hand countries over to authoritarian regimes because it's convenient. And the ideological clash playing out right now, conservatism versus basic human decency. We're about to watch it unfold in real time together. I haven't seen all of this yet, so we're discovering it together. Buckle up. If you love watching me unravel disasters like this, please click that subscribe button.
We might come on, though, to Ukraine in a moment, because that seems to me where one of the rifts in the West is most tested. But Secretary Clinton.
Well, as perhaps one of the few people who has actually been around since the end of the Second World War, let me add my version of history to the revisionism that I hear in not just this conversation, but so many other places. It is, for me, a blessing that freedom was expanded to include, in the United States, for example, the right of black people to be treated at least better than they had been for 400 or so years. It was a culmination of freedom for women to be given their rights much more fully than they had been. It was, I think, a dramatic recognition of human dignity for gay people to be able to be treated without fear and even marry, which to me is creating a family. So, you know, I understand conservative impulses. I understand we are fighting an ideological battle that is as old as time. There are those of us who are more comfortable in a more open, tolerant world. And there are those who have their concerns about it because they worry about the impact on existing institutions like the family, community, and others. So this really, yes, migration has been a huge flashpoint. More people were deported under my husband and Barack Obama without killing American citizens and without putting children into detention camps than were in the first Trump term or this first year of Trump's second term. So I think it's important to look at the facts, because very often the ideological impulse to try to protect the status quo or return making America great again in some nostalgic past that existed for white men and capitalist enterprise was not exactly open and welcoming to people who look like me and a lot of other people who are part of our national fabric. I have no argument with the necessity of trying to figure out, how do we form families? I'm very proud of my family. I'm proud of my 3 grandchildren. I am proud to be part of that tradition. That doesn't mean everybody has to be. That doesn't mean everyone who doesn't have children is somehow an illegitimate human being. So how do we make the case in a positive way, not a bullying and very shameful way? So this debate that's going on is driven by an effort to control people, to control who we are, how we look, who we love. And I think we need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There is a
Clinton.
legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration. It went too far. It's been disruptive and destabilizing, and it needs to be fixed in a humane way with secure borders that don't torture and kill people.
Right, so, wow. Just wow. Let me breathe for a second here, because Hillary Clinton just laid it all out, didn't she? The expansion of rights, the progress we've made over decades, and how this whole Make America Great Again. Nonsense is really just code for rolling back everything that made society more humane. And she's absolutely right. This nostalgic fantasy they keep peddling. Great for whom, exactly? Great for white men and capitalist enterprise, as she said. Not so great for women, not for black Americans, not for the LGBTQ community. The hypocrisy is staggering. What gets me, and I mean really gets me, is how these conservative voices talk about freedom whilst actively trying to control who people love, how families should look, what bodies can do. That's not freedom. That's authoritarianism with better branding. And Clinton calling out the deportation figures? Chef's kiss. More deportations under her husband and Obama. But without, and this is crucial, without killing American citizens, without throwing children into detention camps. Facts. Actual facts that the right conveniently forgets when they're screaming about borders. The migration debate is legitimate, yes, but there's a difference between having a conversation about policy and using human beings as political props whilst tearing families apart. One is governance. The other is cruelty dressed up as patriotism. Tell me I'm wrong. Go on.
And how we're going to have a strong family structure, because it is at the base of civilization.
Secretary Clinton, so thank you for that. And you got.
You really mean that?
Yes, I do. I do, and you got several rounds of applause there. But I'm really interested in the line that our discussion is having already, which is a battle within the West between conservatism and liberalism. But I don't think we would be having this discussion at all if it weren't for some of the positions the US administration has taken. And let me take one of them, which is Ukraine, which is obviously at the center of the Munich discussions of the past couple of years. And the line that the Trump administration has taken in trying to resolve the Ukraine conflict following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and its apparent thrust to accept Russia's territorial encroachment on Ukraine. And to you, I absolutely, I understand, and we've had various versions of it already, your characterization of a clash between conservative and liberal values being, at the heart of what's going on in the West. But in this particular one, a security issue, one that involves international law, whether countries still respect those international laws laid down after the Second World War, do you think that that brings a new rift within the West? Ukraine, the US's position. Yes, I am.
I think that the Trump administration's position toward Ukraine is disgraceful. I think the effort to force Ukraine into a surrender deal with Putin is shameful. I think the effort that Putin and Trump are making to profit off the misery and death of the Ukrainian people is a historic error and corrupt to the nth degree. And so I believe Ukraine is fighting for our democracy and our values of freedom and civilization, on the front lines, losing thousands of people and having their country destroyed by one man's mania to control them. And I think Trump either doesn't understand or could care less about that suffering. So that's what I think.
And so do you think he has destroyed the West, to go to our title?
He has betrayed the West. He's betrayed human values. He's betrayed the NATO Charter, the Atlantic Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. A lot of what has been done before to try to make sense of how difficult it is to restrain people who want unaccountable power. And none of us in this room, including all of us on this panel, would choose to live under a regime that was so unaccountable that it could act with impunity the way that Putin does, except that's who Trump is modeling himself
I don't think
after.
we would be having this debate under that kind of regime, for sure. We will come back, I suspect, to the conservatism and liberalism clash within the West, but thank you for that. Peter, do you agree that the Trump administration's actions on Ukraine have produced a rift in the West?
Well, first, I think you really don't like him.
You know, that is absolutely true. But I really, not only do I not like him, I don't like him because of what he's doing to the United States and the world. And I think you should take a hard look at it if you think that there is something good that will come out of it.
Peter,
What I think Trump is doing in America, I think it is reaction for something that, for some policies that really went too far.
All right, let's keep going here. Exhales sharply. Oh, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hillary Clinton just said what needed to be said. Disgraceful, shameful, corrupt to the nth degree. And you know what? She's absolutely right. But hold on. Did he just try to deflect from Ukraine by bringing up woke culture and gender ideology? I'm sorry, what? People are dying. Actual human beings are being bombed in their homes. Children are losing parents. Cities are being reduced to rubble. And his contribution to this conversation is, well, there's only two genders. Pause. That's your response. That's your justification for abandoning an ally for fighting against authoritarian aggression. Sorry, Ukraine, we'd love to help, but someone on Twitter used pronouns I didn't like, so good luck with the missiles. The absolute audacity. And Clinton, bless her, she clocked it immediately. Does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine? Boom, direct hit. Because here's the thing, this is what they do, isn't it? They cannot defend the indefensible, so they pivot. They distract. They throw culture war nonsense at you, hoping you'll forget that the actual policy is to reportedly let Putin carve up a sovereign nation. Ukraine is fighting for its survival, its sovereignty, its people. And supposedly the best the MAGA crowd can offer is cancel culture complaints? Pathetic. Truly pathetic.
Too far from the regular people,
Like what? Give
too
us some
far from
examples.
reality. So, you know, we saw the cancel culture. We saw the woke revolution. I don't agree with the gender revolution, the climate alarmism.
Which gender? Women having their rights?
No, let Peter go on.
I think there are two genders. So, but some of
half of us? Can we have our rights?
Some of us think that there is more than one or more than two gender. I think there is male and female, and the rest probably is a social construct. So this is something that went too far.
But does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine who are on the front lines dying to save their freedom and their two genders, if that's what you're worried about?
Can I please finish my points? I'm sorry that it makes you nervous. I'm really sorry for that.
It makes me nervous. It makes me
but seriously, can we let Peter finish, please? Can we let Peter finish, please?
I have to say one more thing. You said that Ukraine fights for our future and for our freedom. I think first Ukraine fights for Ukraine's future, Ukraine's freedom, and Ukraine's sovereignty and independence. So we should help them, of course. But what I see on some people in the West, they are trying to help the Ukraine. But that's another question. I don't know if Trump's administration is helping the Ukraine to stop the war. I believe that there is such an approach. I don't see any other strong geopolitical player who would be able to force Russia to stop killing the Ukrainian people and stop destroying their country.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Cancel culture, the woke revolution, gender politics. That's his answer. That's his justification for what exactly? For abandoning a country that's being invaded? For selling out millions of people who are actually dying, to defend their sovereignty. I'm sorry, I need a moment here because the absolute brass neck of this man, Petr Macinka, by the way, Czech politician, conservative, apparently thinks the biggest threat to Western civilization is pronouns. Is that what we're doing now? Clinton asks him point blank, does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine? And he can't answer. He literally cannot answer the question because there is no answer. There's no universe where I don't like cancel culture is a valid reason to let Putin steamroll a sovereign nation. And did you catch that bit? Ukraine fights for Ukraine's future. As if that's some kind of gotcha? Yes, mate. Yes, they're fighting for their future. A future where they're not subjugated by an authoritarian regime. A future that, funnily enough, looks a lot like ours. That's the whole bloody point. This is the distraction playbook in its purest form. Can't defend the actual policy, talk about something else entirely. Anything else. Gender, wokeness, whatever gets the headlines.
I don't see, maybe China, but China makes nothing. I don't know if the pressure, if Trump is forcing Russia in the way that they will stop the war. I don't know. I only see that the only Americans right at the moment can make it. I see the dialogue.
Do you think Europe could put more pressure on Russia, for example, by putting pressure on Turkey, by targeting the refineries of oil more, and so on?
I think Europe also makes some pressure. We release sanctions. We do what we can. But I think the Russians, they probably don't care. When I visited Ukraine, I saw the goodwill of all people in Ukraine. They were really united and willing to stop the war. But
they're keeping fighting. They seem to be.
They also made some steps that probably a year ago no one from them would allow to say or even suggest. Now they are ready to make some steps back. Now it's ball on the Russian side, but I don't see any goodwill on their side. So
indeed, we probably are agreed on that point. Peter, will you forgive me? I want to come on to Ivan, who's been writing and looking at this for a long time, from Sofia and other places.
Now, listen, there are two conversations, and I want to make 2 points. One is, if we really believe that it's about conservative versus liberal, then conservatism is very much about sovereignty and the national community. The way the American administration now defines the freedom of speech is basically the right of the American technological companies.
Right. So, look, I've sat through this entire exchange and I need to just take a breath here for a moment. What we've just witnessed is genuinely extraordinary. You've got Hillary Clinton standing there in Munich, laying it out with absolute clarity about what's happening to Ukraine, what's happening to Western alliances, what's happening to the very foundations of international order. And the response from the other side is, but cancel culture though. That's it. That's the defense. Thousands of people dying. A sovereign nation being dismembered by an authoritarian regime. And we're meant to accept that Trump's approach is justified because some people think there are more than two genders. I mean, honestly, I'm almost lost for words. Almost. This is what happens when ideology replaces strategy, when grievance replaces principle, when owning the libs becomes more important than defending actual liberty. Clinton called it disgraceful. She called it shameful. And you know what? She's right. Because when history looks back at this moment, it won't ask how many people got cancelled on Twitter. It'll ask why the most powerful nation on earth abandoned its allies when they needed them most. So here's my challenge to you lot in the comments. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me how selling out Ukraine protects freedom. I'll wait. Like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And for the love of democracy, stay engaged.